Hey, what's up, guys? So we have our 30th episode, and today I have one of my best friends here. It's Nexus Junis Blue. You know him on YouTube, but it's Mathew Lee, one of my brothers in Sanda and Taulu. And why? Because again, I know many of you watch his podcast before, but today we're going to talk more about the development in Sanda, nationals and what to expect for Panams. And this is going to be a special one because he gonna talk about techniques and he's honestly, I'm impressed in what he's doing right now in his channel and like all like the really, man, you need to go to his channel because he have everything. So hey, Matthew, thank you again for being here with us, man. Thank you so much, man. How are you?
Hermano, thank you for having me again. Okay. I love talking with you. Hey, happy World Wushu Kung Fu Day.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, exactly.
You know what's
Happy
really
Wushu
funny? You know
Day.
what's really hilarious is that I think I'm a returning guest, right? I'm pretty sure I'm the only returning guest on the podcast right now, right?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. But
Ugh,
man,
sorry. So if you guys didn't like me before,
nah,
sorry.
bro, no, don't say that. But man, you have a lot of knowledge on this sport, and
I appreciate
today, like, man, this is the 30th anniversary. I'm sorry, the 30th episode, and to me, you know how hard it is to get some of the athletes in China, Hong Kong, Iran. You know how hard it is. You know how, and I would like to have every week a podcast, but it's impossible. But this podcast, I think we've been you know uh we noticed many changes, in these last nationals, new generation coming, juniors,
Oh yeah.
and I would like to talk about that. How do you think, man?
No, yeah, 100%. But before I forget, I just a thought that occurred to me when we talked about connecting on the podcast again was I think the second time I've been here. It's also the second time I've followed a world champion, which is a really hard act to follow. Last time was George Sa. This time it was Liang Yuhong from Hong Kong or Hong Kong,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's also like a holiday. I mean, if you care
yeah.
about that, I mean,
Wow,
World
man.
Wushu Day. Well, Wushu Kung Fu Day is. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's not a real holiday. Like that's just uh an opportunity for Wushu people to show that they do Wushu right. And
Yeah,
I'm gonna be honest, as a Wushu guy, I don't even care about the Kung Fu part. I care about the Wushu part.
yeah, of course, I understand, bro. But thank you, man, for being here. So let's start. What do you think, man? Like the topic's gonna be about development, the
Uh-huh.
evolution in Sanda. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
man, and let's talk about the new generation, the guys, and then guys, we have videos actually, just to let you know, we're gonna compare some of my videos training in Beijing, and then Matthew gonna share some of the videos of he gonna talk about his videos also. And so this going to be awesome because we're gonna share knowledge, we're gonna share techniques, we're gonna talk about the new generation, what they need, what they don't, whatever. So man, what do you think about the new guys?
So in terms of new generation, you're talking about internationally, or are you talking about nationally?
Let's talk about national first.
Okay, all right. So nationals just wrapped up, I think, about 2 weeks ago, right? That's when I
Yeah,
last saw you.
yeah,
And I understand you were busy, cornering your fighters. You had so many fighters, so many a whole new generation of fighters. And
thank you.
a couple guys that I want to highlight that come to my mind personally. First, I want to talk about our division, 56 kg division, right? I want to talk about your guy, Marcos Martinez. Is
Yeah,
it
Diego.
Marcos or Diego? Which one?
Yeah, it's Diego or Marcus. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Diego, right?
Yeah,
And David Lopez the third, or David the third
David.
Lopez. Apparently, it's David the third Lopez. I remember I asked him. I was like, "Is it David Lopez the third or David the third
I think
Lopez?"
he's the third. Yes.
Well, because in internationally, when they put his name up on the projector, when they show that he's coming out to fight, it's David Lopez the third. But on Instagram, it's David the third Lopez. So I was like, "Hey man, which is it?" Right? Like,
Yeah, it's the third.
so
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's David the Third. I was like, oh my bad, dude. And I got his name wrong on the YouTube video too. So it's like, oh, that's my bad. I gotta go back and fix that.
It's
So
fine.
but no, anyways, man. First of all, those two guys. Okay, I have to say, I remember, and we talked about this in our last podcast, right? Do you remember when Jason Liu, my wushu senior, the 56 kg fighter that represented the
Mhm.
U.S. wushu Sanda team before me, and Kazan, Russia. And by the way, I apologize, I misspoke in the last podcast. I think it was the 14th World Wushu Championships in Kazan,
That's
Russia
fine.
in 2017, because 2019 was Shanghai, China, right?
Yes,
And
yes,
then COVID-19 happened, right? The
yeah,
coronavirus happened, and then we got the 16th one last year, right? Because we needed an extra 2 years,
yeah,
even though the world went back to normal in 2021, 2022, we still needed an extra 2 years to like really prepare, and we
yes.
needed that. We really needed that, by the way. But no, no, going back to the 56 kg division, right? Um, I remember when it was nothing, right? It was just me and Guillermo Rodriguez, right? Memo, right? And then Damian Sanchez came in last year, and then I don't know what happened. Did those two guys move away?
Well, Guillermo is right now. He's in a rock band. He's in a tour.
Right. Oh, you
Yeah,
did say that. You did mention that last time. Okay.
yeah,
How are his
and
doing?
huh? Yeah, he's doing awesome. I really like his band. Guillermo, if you're watching this video, I'm proud of you, man. I love you. And about Damien, I think he moved from to other city. I really don't know, but those two guys, I'm glad that I spar with well, Guillermo, my student, with Damien in Lubbock, and with you. And honestly, it was a really good division. That's why I want to talk about development, because
Yeah.
yeah, because like as you mentioned with the 56 kg,
Mm.
it's a really hard division when you talk about international fights. Even 56, 60, and 65, man, I fought in 60, and believe me, it's something different. And when I fought in 65 kilograms, it's a whole way different, because in I'm 5'6", and usually you fought 5'8", 5'9", 5'10" guys, and it's a lot. But in your division in 56, something that I see, and not because Diego is my student this year, uh is something I always like talk with my students, and it's like, okay, man, you've been training for years, or 1 year, 2 years, whatever. So the only way, if you really want to know like what is your skills or where's your level, is like you need to compete. It's not
True.
only to come
100% true.
it's
100%.
not only to come train and sparring with your guys. You need to go out and compare your skills. And thank God, thank God, thank God he fought with Lopez, because he was a junior USA team before, and he's very he's really good. He's fast. That kid. I like his style. And the thing is, like, he's not Sanda fighter, and
Really?
he have yeah he's dad really greetings to his dad and everyone to the and yeah, they actually they are karate and Muay Thai, and then they
Oh
come
no,
to
sorry. You talking about the
the
Kisenshi martial
Lopez. Yeah,
David Lopez's family? Yeah, yeah,
Kenshi. Yes, yeah.
they
So
were
it
they
was
were they were like karate, and then they
karate,
converted to
Muay
Muay Thai.
Thai,
And
and
then I
yeah,
think Coach Juan Carlos of American Wushu Academy brought them into Sanda. So yeah, hey,
yeah.
thanks to
But
him, because without that we wouldn't have
yeah,
the participation we did in the
yeah,
Sanda.
yeah. And that's something that I really recognize from Arizona, from John Pang,
Yeah.
because he brought fighters. He's really doing well about bringing more people, to for competitions. And something that I like is like there's another guy from the 60 kilo, Liu, I don't remember his name.
Ryan Liu, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I think he's training a garage. I thought something like that. He told me something like that. So
Garage Gang. I
yeah,
forget.
garage gang. Yeah, yeah. And there's something like good
I talked to Panyang, Panyang Dago. We call him Big Brother, right? Because
yeah, yeah,
number
yeah,
one, he's older, and he's done a lot for the sport.
yeah, yeah,
He said that Ryan is perhaps his most hardworking student, the most hardworking guy he knows.
yeah,
So I
Yeah.
mean, that probably says a lot.
And you can see and you can tell because actually Diego, my student, he fought a exhibition fight with him, and
Mm,
and well, talking about Diego again, like my student in 56. Uh, the reality is like maybe this year he was, like tough and okay. It's a different way to fight, different way to spar. But at the end, now he knows where to work.
you said he
Like
fought new rules before.
no, 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 no. Because when he trained with us, with me, it's
Oh,
the sparring is different. Of course,
okay.
I'm the coach. I need to spar not 100% against them, because they're my students. But
Right,
at the,
right, right.
yeah, at the end, like in the competition, I think he realized about like, okay, I need to work hard, and is that something that I love from him? Is like, hey, coach, I promise next year I'm gonna get the first place. Good, work hard is what you need.
That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, and that's when you talk about like, okay, this guy, he wants it. It's not like, oh, I lose, no, I leave it. No, it's I want more. I love this.
So, okay, yeah. So, I apologize for getting off track, but I remember when 56 kg division was very, very small. It's almost non-existent, right? And
Yeah,
then when the two other guys in my division moved away, I was just like, oh, what's gonna happen? Because I'm done. Like I already said I was done. I'm not gonna come back, right? And then I see that banger of a fight, right? Of Diego versus David, and I was like,
yeah, very very fast.
oh yeah, dude. And let me tell you something, okay? They are better than me. Those kids would have beat my ass. It's not even a question, okay? Okay, and here's the thing. I'm not even joking. I'm being very, very honest. The next generation should be better. You should
Of
want that
course,
for your sport.
of
You
course.
know, something? I hate it when it really gets on my nerve when people like to be like old school and be like, back in my day, like old people, right? It's like, well, back in my day, my sport was better, XYZ, this or that, and the kids aren't as good nowadays. So what you're really saying then is that your sport sucks right now. That's what you're saying, right? You may not have said that explicitly, but you implied it, right? So
Hmm.
really, if you're really the best that you have to offer and your sport hasn't progressed, what does that say about your sport, right? You should want your sport to be better, right? As a
Yeah,
coach, as a teammate, you should want the next generation to be better than you. You should be finding faster and more efficient ways to produce the same effective results, to produce better athletes, to produce the better performances, and you should want that for the next generation to be better than you. If you don't, you're an asshole. Sorry.
yeah. No, and you're right, man. Actually, I want to mention also the Meng family, Vincent and his
Mm-hmm.
family, because every year, like something that I like from them is like they always trying to bring new fighters, like new kids, you know, uh, and and I like because at the end they are a family, like they are a martial arts family, the
Mm-hmm.
heritage and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom, her dad, they have their own story in Taekwondo and Kung Fu, and that is something special because at the end, like Lubbock, like the place where you come from, also like Mark, everyone, like we are trying to bring more people,
Mm-hmm.
and like in Arizona, something that I like is like people come from other schools, same different martial arts, and like, hey, what is Sanda? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
this is Sanda, a platform.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I never thought this. It's hard, and I like that because now they notice like, hey, there's
Mm-hmm.
another martial arts which is harder than we thought, and yeah, man, these nationals. I know it was a small national, but it was a lot of energy. I saw a
Well,
lot of
that
energy.
well, that's not anybody's fault though, because
Of course, yeah, yeah, yeah.
the thing is that when the USWKF announced that the Sanda sanctioning for California
California.
was still like going on, it was just like, well, it's been a while now, and at that point, it was like 2 months out from nationals, right? Or excuse, yeah, like, and that's a whole fight camp, like 8 to 9 weeks out. I consider an entire training camp. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if I do Talu or Sanda, but
Uh-huh.
at the same time, it's kind of like, what do you expect fighters and coaches to do? They're waiting on when the competition is going to happen, and and it still wasn't ready. And then they finally came out with an announcement. And then you know something, full credit to Pan Yang Dage for
Yeah,
hosting nationals in Phoenix, because without that, I don't know how else they would have had nationals. Okay,
yeah,
like
yeah.
like
I
like,
know.
like but you know, so here's the thing: the last time it was held in Phoenix was back in 2019, right? And I think right before the pandemic hit, I was thinking that Phoenix was gonna be like the next big hub for wushu, both Taolu and Sanda in USA. You know, um, so like me personally, I'm kind of happy to have been there, to witnessed it. I've been a fan of Sanda. I've always been a fan. I love it. I love watching it. I loved covering it, and you know, recording
Uh-huh.
all the fights. You know, so you know, full credit to him, you know, for taking on that task. I can't imagine being an organizer for a national level competition, you know. But I mean, hey, look, to be fair, all of the coaches, all the big players that brought their teams, they still came and supported, you know. um all of us, we fly in on our own dime, right?
Yeah,
Nobody pays us for this stuff. It's all amateur. We just do it because we like it,
because
right?
we love it. Yeah.
Yeah, so like, so for the community to still come together in that difficult time, I think it's a testament to how strong the Sanda community is in the US.
Yeah. No, and there's the commitment, like as you say, there's people who love this sport, and it's really sad. It's really sad that we still don't have that boom, But but we can talk about MMA fighters again, like how many MMA fighters there are in UFC winning fights.
Have a Sanda background, right?
Man, with that background, and but well, man, I think that's another topic. But right now, something I really want to talk something about the new generation. um as a coach, I brought this team because they like they want to compete. It's like they're training, and they're training for nothing. They're training for a reason.
It's passion.
Yeah, for passion. Is like I really want to be in the USA team. I really want to represent USA. Coach, when we going to compete? And that's something that I like, because I have a filter, and that filter is about I decide, since I close my gym and we are training in my garage right now, I just accept a few people, and those few people are the ones who are competing. So I'm focused right now. I'm focused in the competition side, and not in the regular
Business side,
issue business.
right?
Yes, it's more like hey, you're
Which,
gonna
which are two different things. You have to treat them very differently,
yes,
and we can talk about this in terms of development of Sanda.
yeah, yeah. And my way to develop is the way I learned from this team here, the Beijing team, and and the way the way I learn is like the competition methodology. This is the A team, the Beijing A team in Chichahai,
Yeah,
and
the
I
home of
had
the home of the Beijing Wushu team.
actually, yes, actually there's my
Same team that
coach.
produced Jet Li.
Yes, and man, there's a lot of champions here. Actually, a lot of champions, a lot
Is
of
Cao Yaguang in there? Cao Yaguang.
Soya Gong is here.
Where? Wait,
Here,
which one?
there's
Oh no, no,
the,
the tall one in the back on the lay
yeah,
ties.
it's my side, by my side. Soya Gong here in the white. This guy, the
Oh,
white
my
shirt.
mistake. Oh, my mistake. I thought it was
Let,
oh
let
no,
me
no,
let
the tall guy. Sorry, I was looking at the tall guy. That's Wang Fangkun.
Wang Fang Kung. Okay, man, I had story with Wang Fang Kung, bro. Wang Fang Kung, it's over here. Okay, wait, where's my finger? It's over here. Wang Fang Kung.
Yeah, the tall guy. That's the one
The
I thought
60
was Cao
kilo,
Yaguang. That's my
bro, bro. I had a story with him. I because I was one of the sparring partners of Saya Guo. Of course, I'm like he always helped me a lot. My brother, since he was in the C team and then B team to A team, I had the privilege to train with them since 2011 to 2016. And one of the things that I learned, and that's one of the development in my training with my students. It's the way they train, the way they practice, the way, of course, my students, they don't have they can stay in my house training 4 hours a day because we don't have that here. We're not professionals. But I'm trying to be more specific. Like let's say this week we're gonna focus in tryout. Next week we're gonna focus on boxing, and then
Sports
next
specific
week we're
skills.
gonna focus in kicks. But the fourth week we're gonna spar all the week. We're gonna mix it, and we're gonna be focused like, okay, today is tryout and kicks, and then tomorrow is tryout and boxing, and then tomorrow is kickboxing, and then tomorrow is takedowns. And but you're sparring, and that's some of the methodologies I learned from them.
Mm,
And why I'm mentioning this, because I think one of the best schools, of course, here in US is in Lubbock with Coach Lee. And I've been there, we've been there training. I really love their methodology. I really like the way they train. That's why they're the best here in US,
yes.
honestly.
United Martial Arts Training Center in
Yeah,
Lubbock.
yeah, of course, they are the best. Like we have to. Right? I respect that, of course.
Yep.
And I love Bruce. I love Corey. And they always, like, every time we go there, they always do their best, to train with us and to help us. And that's the brotherhood, man. I always say, like in Sanda, we have that brotherhood here in US. And right now they have a camp with the junior team, the
Yes,
adult team.
the Sanda National Training Camp has been
Yeah,
going
they
on
have
this.
the,
Yeah.
and that's one of the things that we need, and not only one, maybe two, three times. I know it's hard, but like, hey man, if you want to come, you can come and you can train with the USA team, because we need to develop this sport, and we need to bring more people, like, to learn the real Sanda,
Mm.
because
Sports specific skill sets.
exactly, bro, exactly, because it's not the same thing when you see a kid doing this. Of course not. That's not Sanda, but they're kids. They still need to develop and mature and this and that. But when you see a junior 12, 13, 14-year-old doing that, it's like, no, something is happening in his school, or
Mm.
he don't have a good coach, or they don't have a good methodology, or they don't know about Sanda. And I'm going to share one of the videos actually, but later. Let me see here. Okay, I'm gonna share. Okay, I'm gonna share one of uh, my students. So because I don't want them. Okay, where Leonardo Pastrana.
Here, I'll oh, I did want to talk about Leonardo Pastorata. But okay, I'll shut up because I don't know if like the meeting is gonna I remember we were on our last podcast, the audio switches on who's talking. So if you're gonna share your screen, I'll just shut
No,
up.
no, no. But I'm looking for the video, so you can share
Well,
what.
so yeah, yeah. Going back to nationals, right? I was very impressed with Diego, with David in our division, 56 kg, and I was very impressed with Leo. He did the double roundhouse kick. Pop, pop.
Yeah, the scissor kicks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
did he get that? Did he get that from you?
yeah.
Shit, where's that from? Where'd you get that from?
Let me tell you, man. I did that in my Taolu form in Jiangsu, actually.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so that the connection with so I always say, man, like Taolu and Sanda, they have a lot of connection, of course. Like
You could have fooled me because that's a very popular technique in Taekwondo, right?
yeah,
You can do it
chip
a
and
lot.
pull. So I remember in my Jiangsu form, when I was in the Mexico team, I used that at the end. I use the kick and then the chant, and I do that in my some of my fights also. So I always say, like, man, you need this, so it's gonna be your signature. And he really, like, we train a lot, and we can say. So let me share here, and if you want to talk about that, they do it, man.
I'll
And
I'll, I'll talk after because I don't want to take away from the screen share.
okay, so okay, Leo. First of all, of course, respect to both of them. Good guys. Actually, both of them, they're going to Pan Ams. Uh, And I'm really proud of both of them because he's from Trito school, from Coach Trito. And again, man, it's they're young, they still learning, they still developing skills and many more things. So right now, if you see, um, this is 50 something kilos in junior, and you can see like the pose. Okay, wait. So we have a different we work different scenarios, you know. He Leo is one of the kids who really like to like go into a fight and do tryout and takedowns, and he's one of the kids who really like to do everything, and that is something that I like from him. So this kind of fights, as we can see here, uh we need to work on that kind of things. But again, it's like my me as a coach, I was really happy. Oh, that kid, right? You there, Matthew?
Oh no, 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 I'm
Yeah,
here.
you
I'm here.
can you can yeah, you can speak,
I
of
just didn't
course.
wanna, just didn't want to
No, no,
say.
you can speak because right now we are sharing the we are sharing the
Are you
video.
sure?
But yeah,
Are you
yeah,
sure?
yeah.
Because are you sure? Because if this is on YouTube and people are looking at my stupid face, and
No,
and
no,
it's gonna be like, oh man, I gotta listen to this freaking Chino talk again. Like,
no, I'm sharing right now. So you can see this fight here, and this is the scissor kicks, like we the one that I mentioned.
yes,
Like,
that
yeah,
I was very impressed with that. You can hear me actually if you hear me in the video.
yeah. Whoa.
I don't know if you heard me. I think I saw you look in my direction when I did that.
Every whoa, it was like, okay, good. He's a good man.
I
And
hope I didn't influence the judges.
nah, but again, man, like this is the kind of development we need, you know, more like more tournaments, more people, like more uh uh you know more skills.
Whoa! What did he get him with a body kick?
Yeah, in the I think in the liver, beside the liver, but it was like not full.
Well, so we can actually turn this into a teachable moment, right? Sanda is an amateur sport. Wushu Sanda under the Wushu competitions um, operates under a point system. So there's a
Yeah,
scoring system, but this is one of the scoring systems that balances points and damage really really well. So if you see the referee or the platform judge gave an
yeah,
8 count, right, a standing 8 count, that's actually 2 more points, right?
yeah.
And
Here,
if at any time you post with anything other than your 2 feet, right? In Taolu language, we call this additional support, right? So let's say, for
yeah,
example, right? Let's say like I did an undo landing and I go, oh, I touched the ground for additional support.
yeah,
That's the deduction, right? Except in Sanda, it's a point positive system. So anytime your opponent is down, you get 2 more points, right? They don't deduct points from the opponent, they add points to you,
yeah,
right? So actually, Leo, because he scored a body kick, right? That's 2 points, right? His opponent's down, 2 more points. Standing 8 count, 2 more points. So actually, kicks are highly rewarded in Sanda. It is
yeah,
very good to score body kicks and head kicks that do damage because the damage mathematically is literally threefold, right? So actually damage is rewarded if you drop the guy.
yeah. And one of the things that you need to know, people, is like in junior we have different divisions. We have the children division and then the junior division, and like they don't allow to kick to the face,
Correct.
and you can go continuous punches. And that's what I mean. If you're watching this video right now, I don't know honestly, but I'm sharing one of my students fights. Leo is in
Ooh, 变拳.
yeah, blue and red. And one of the things that I'm talking about is like you can see uh the difference in every technique. And I'm talking about my student, I'm not talking about the other, right? Because I respect both of them. But you can see the the way we practice, because it's more like the, okay, more in like the Chinese way, the Beijing way, because it's what I know. And again, and yeah, and that is something that I like from him, but because it's like, okay, coach, what I did wrong, what I did this, why I did that, okay, why you don't listen when I told you to do this, why you don't listen to do that. And 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 uh and I think as a coach, let me stop sharing.
Mm.
um Wait. Okay, I think as a coach, bro, I think you need to have that, the knowledge also, because it's not easy to be an athlete and coach, or former athlete and new coach. Or it's actually, it was one of the problems that I had before. Or you're an athlete, or you're a coach, or you're a coach, or you're an athlete. And I really lose a lot of my fights because I always focus on my athletes, and 20-30% on myself without a
Oh,
coach.
you're talking about at the same time?
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like sparring.
it's- you know,
Of
it's
course,
really,
yeah,
yeah,
it's impossible.
yeah.
Yeah,
You know what's
and
really funny is that I used to help out at my college's wushu club, UMBC Wushu,
yeah,
and I was the Taolu coach because almost everyone else that coached before either like left and moved on with their lives, or they were just too busy, right? So
yeah,
I had to coach, but I also wanted to compete at collegiates, right? And it was very difficult because it's like, okay, I'm trying to help you out, I'm trying to tell you what to do, but then I also have to get ready for my event, right? And it's very difficult, you know. And every time I tried to juggle those roles, it didn't work. It never worked. It was either uh my my teammates, or my students or my athletes, their performance suffered because I couldn't give them the attention that they needed, right? Or I was just too distracted that I couldn't focus on my own development and my own training long term. You know, I'm
yeah.
not trying to make excuses. Like
No, no, no.
my performance is my
And
performance,
and
but in terms of wanting to get better, you can't focus on being a coach and being an athlete at the same time. So the point I'm trying to make here is that regardless of what sport you do, it just doesn't
and
work.
yes, and let me tell you something. I remember my coaches in China. They always told me like, or you're an athlete or you're a coach. Of course. Uh, Unfortunately, like, I'm gonna talk about myself. In my situation, it's like it's very hard when you are full time, like coaching kids, this and that, and then you need to train for yourself. Many people does. Good. I know many people who they're coaches, and they still competing and winning, and this good, good. But everyone is different. Like in my case, in my case, I always talk to Coach Lee. I remember one day, I my last fight, I lose my last fight, and I was very angry because one of the problems that I lose fights is because they took me out. Not even in technique, because I believe my technique is good, my kicks, my punches, and but man, I don't know. Like, I don't know, man. I don't understand. Just I just remember I was out, and like, what happened? And I remember I told Coach Lee why I'm going out, like why I can use my tryout. What is happening? And and honestly, I was in therapy because of that, because I like, hey man, I'm training in Beijing. I'm sparring with these guys. We had internal tournaments, with the Beijing guys. And I remember I won like 6 fights, and I lose 5 fights, and it was like more than 10 fights. And I remember I did good. And that was one of the things that I can't believe. But but this is the good thing. Thank, thanks to those mistakes, I had I have really good athletes. Honestly, I have really good athletes. I learned a different methodology, and I learned how to teach my guys without my mistakes. And that is one of the best things that I ever had right now. I'm very happy with my students. You just see my students in Arizona. Man, those guys, 1 year training, 6 months, 8 months training in a garage. They're not. Leonardo is training with me since 2019. I remember. But man, with COVID, sometimes this and that. But man, right now he fought last year in Lubbock. He did well, honestly. And right now he fought in Arizona, and man, he jumped really, really high level in right now for his age. And I'm waiting for him in Pan Am because I know he gonna do something well. I know. But I don't know, man. What is your perspective about the junior team in these Pan Ams?
So I'm very impressed that it's an entire new generation. There were some really competitive fights at nationals. Okay,
Yeah.
really competitive. As far as juniors, I think a couple considerations you have to make is that
Oh,
number
sorry.
one.
We have Mason Lee, Coach Lee son. Jesus, that guy, that
Oh
kid.
well, okay. So the really funny thing is that he competes under the kids division, right?
I know. Yeah.
Which is a very, very unique division. And to be fair, it's a genius idea to get the next generation of Sanda into the sport, right? Because um, the thing about that is that uh, people look at full contact fighting, of which of course includes Sanda, and they'll be like, I don't want my kids to do that, right? And the really funny thing is that they'll put their kids into like American football where you're almost guaranteed to have a concussion, right? Whereas in fighting, when you agree to face somebody, uh, you the goal is to hurt each other, but
Yeah.
you're also not gonna if you're smart, okay, you're not gonna let the other guy hit you, right? And Coach Lee is very, very technical about that, right?
Yeah. It's a high IQ kid. Really, he have his IQ. The Mason Lee man is impressive. Really.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? I remember interviewing my Sanda coach, Lao Mark Lorenzo, back in 2017 on my YouTube channel, right? And what he said was, at first he was also very hesitant about it too. He's like, oh, I don't really know about this. But then when he saw it, he said, I've seen it be safer than, other like so-called light contact, semi-contact, competitions with the
Oh, big
gloves and
lip. Oh
the
yeah.
the headgear dipped in foam, where it's like you say it's no contact, but then all of a sudden when someone does like this weird little
Oh
back
yeah.
fist and then
The
they hit
karate
hard, it's
one.
like you just said it wasn't full contact, and it's like, so what was that, right? um so to be very, very clear for those of you that don't know, because Kids Sanda is a very, very unique event in both America and the Pan American region in general, right? For
Yes.
Kids Sanda, you were talking about the thing about continuous punches not being scored, right? They do not score punches to the head. Okay, they do wear the headgear, but it's just in case, right? They'll score punch to the body, kind of like Kyokushin karate, right?
Uh-huh.
But practically, we know that kids aren't going to hit that hard, right? As a matter of fact, I remember at the first Phoenix Sanda Nationals in 2021, Coach Lee had the judges meeting the day of, and he was literally like, "Hey guys, like you're going to see this a lot. They're kids.
Yeah.
Don't
Of
score
course.
those because
Yeah.
because because even in a full contact sport, right? Part of the criteria is number one is audible contact to sound, right? You make a slap on the thigh, the chest protector, right?
Uh-huh.
Um, and the other is displacement, right? So for example, if you actually move the guy, right? Well, if you so obviously with kids Sanda, right? uh Punching to the head doesn't score, right? In any other case, junior Sanda, adult or senior Sanda, right? Ironically, punching, you want it to be hard, so you actually want it to move the guy's head back, right? You want to snap the guy's head back to make it count for points, right? Because you have to move him. It can't just be this like little, oh, okay, see what I did here, right? So for kids, what's going to score? Obviously, we just covered that the punches aren't going to do much, right? So what's going to score? Kicks. Kicks are actual skills. You might be able to cheat punching, but you cannot fake kicking, right? So kicking, for example, when you do a roundhouse kick to the chest protector, It's almost like old school taekwondo. Very, very clear. That's a clear technique that made clear contact. It scores. It rewards that skill, right? For linear or straight kicks, right? So for example, right, the front or the push kick or the
Yeah.
side kick, right? It's displacement, right? So for example, if you push me back, right, that scores. If I come in and then you, let's say you intercept me with a side kick, Bruce Lee style, right? Boom, that scores, right? So for example,
Two
if
points.
right, Mason is very good at this, right?
Mm.
Like, oh, punches, punches, punches. Okay, we don't really know, what's
He
going on.
wrestles.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
wrestles
and,
beautiful.
and,
Yeah.
and like we said at our first podcast, right?
Yeah.
The judges are actually literally told, don't score dogfights, don't score firefights, right? Don't score a
Yeah.
single punch unless you see clear displacement like this. Boom,
Boom.
right?
Technically, yes.
Exactly. So with the kids, where again, punches to the head aren't allowed, they reward the skill of kicking and clean takedowns,
Yeah.
right?
And
So,
one of I'm
mhm.
sorry, one of the techniques that you usually going to like to see in the kid fights is the front kick. Front kick. Front. That's again, they are in developing of in their body, their brain, muscle memory, connection. So one of the things that I see a lot in my students when they're beginners is the front kick, front kick, front kick, because they feel safer with that because they still can side kick, they still can do high kicks, and or he can kick to the tie or he can go for front kick. And in the wrestling, the single, like the basic one. But I'm very happy, like you mentioned this about like right now we're talking about Mason Lee, who's a really good kid. I like the way like every time I see him in Labak or competition, he's like, "Hey coach, can you help me?" Blah, blah, blah. And then of course, man, I really like to help him with the mat with the pads because I enjoy it. Like I enjoy the skills, ta, 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 and like I like that kind of kids because you can see his face, you can see the momentum. It's like this kid is going to be one of the, and not because it's coach's lead, no, it's not because coach Lee's son, it's because the kid is doing great. Like that is one of the I think one of the developments, or the examples in kids, because he's in the kids division, then children division, junior division. He's gonna do great. And if we follow that kind of examples, like what they Yuma or Labak is doing right now with juniors, what I'm doing with my juniors, what Vincent Meng is doing with their juniors, I think at the end, as a national team, as a USAWKF, we can create something like that one, you know honestly, we have to create something like that so we can have the same measurements. I don't know what you think about that.
So you're talking about the Duanwei, right? The ranking
Don't
system
wait. Yeah, yeah, don't wait.
for Sanda. Yeah. Well, honestly, when it comes to the development of a ranking system for a combat sport, that's challenging, right?
Yeah,
It would be like trying to rank MMA, right? Getting belts for MMA. And I remember Ramsey Dewey on YouTube said that would be a horrible idea. It's a terrible idea, right? And the thing about that is I can understand where he's coming from. It is so difficult to be able to quantify
yeah.
Sanda being an open combat sport and not necessarily being a very specific martial art, right? There are very, very specific skills and there are curriculums in Sanda. You would know that more than anybody else, having trained in Shichahai, right? I think that it logistically can be done.
Yeah.
I also see the flip side to that, where like people can get all into politics about the what rank are you and what
Could
level.
be. But
Um,
we
to me
uh,
the biggest utility or the biggest yield that you can get from a Duanwei, in my opinion, is the standardization of specific skills and techniques for the
exactly,
sport, and
exactly,
that which would include the technique names, right? To be like,
exactly.
oh, what's this takedown? Oh, what's that takedown, right? I remember Coach Corey Johnson, right? One of Coach Lee's top fighters.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, I believe he was also a heavyweight champion in US
Yeah.
Sanda.
Hmm.
Was hosting online seminars. He was part of the online seminar series for the USAWKF when the pandemic was still
Yeah.
going on. We
I
were all
remember.
under lockdown. It's one of the good things I would say that the USAWKF should get full credit for is continuing to put out successful live streams like that, so that the wushu community, the
I
wushu
mean,
community could still stay involved. And obviously, as a fan of Sanda, I watched those. Those were my favorite ones, right? But when Corey was going through certain moves, he would be like, I call this the corkscrew, because I make up the name, I'm the king, right? And it's just like, okay, but then that doesn't help the rest of us, right? Like, what is the actual name? And the Chinese actually have
their
real
names.
techniques. They
Yes.
have actual names for those techniques, right? Partly because some of those come from Shuaijiao, and some of them are literal translations from other combat sports like boxing, kickboxing, and I think that, to me, like, that would just provide some clarity into the skills of the sport. I personally, I try not to focus too much on rank or level or grade or anything like that. But I can understand the utility of it. Number one, being good for schools to help develop business in the next generation of kids that can get invested into a sport. I mean, we have to be honest. The belt system, a grading system, is great
That's
for martial arts
yeah,
schools.
yeah, yeah. And but
Great.
you mentioned something. We need to make standards because the failures, at the the past years, with I remember there was really good athletes from I remember I fought Mike Lee, one of my actually we have a really good friendship. He's in California. Mike Lee, it was my first fight here in US and 65 kilograms, and then we made a really good friendship, and then he fought one of my students, and then we fought in together in Indonesia, and many things. So there's a lot of good people who how can we retain those athletes, like how can we do that, and I'm not talking about USAWKF or other country. No, 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 no. I'm talking about how can we or what can we or we need to create standardize or standards so we can follow a line and like
You talk
okay.
about creating longevity in athletes from when they're children to when they become adults to keep them
Exactly.
invested in the sport.
Exactly.
I can I
Because
can I can understand the utility of that in terms
yeah,
of, like, hey, this is going to keep students invested. Um, I would just be very careful about the grading stuff. People can sometimes get, political.
forget about the grading stuff, about like retention. Let's talk about retention, like my one of my KPIs that I do, my key performance indicators, is like my top athletes, like let's say Rodrigo. He this is the first year he don't compete because now right now he jumps to college,
Okay.
and of course he's in that transition. But man, he was since 8 years, no 9 years, something I remember. And then he was part of the USA team. He won. He went to the Worlds, and then he went to Pan Am's. He got gold. He KO'd the guy from Argentina, and then all the competition good. And then he started, uh, he started like failing training, and then because of the school, because he was doing football, because he was doing swimming, and but the retention in my school is between 5 to 7 years, but in those years they are competing, like Carlos also, like he was competing like for 5 6 years, and that's one of the what I do, like trying to retain them. But of course, man, they need to do their lives, and again, the development right now that I have with my students, it's I'm trying to do my best for them, to give them the opportunity to be in the USA team, to be in the, to open a door in their lives, what I mean, for the future, maybe a scholarship, whatever. And because I know they like this sport. And you know, man, you know about like once you wear the jacket, it's different. Your life change. You know that. It's a passion. It's not about money. I have a lot of professional fighters, friend of mine, and like, hey man, but what man? You do it for money, which is good. I'm doing because I love it. But once once you represent your country and you wear the jacket, man, that's history, man. That's part of your story, man. Your name going to be in the history of this sport. And sometimes there's a lot of professional fighters like they they never know who you are. Like not but once you wear a jacket, you know how they change. And that's something, that mission that I have with kids. And I and talking about this, I know this team. I know they're gonna do well in Pan Am's in California, and I would like to talk about that, man. What do you think? What are your expectations for this team?
So we just talked about juniors, right? And
Yeah, 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 yeah,
as far as kids, my pick is Mason. Mason completely crushed it at the last
yeah.
Pan Am. He was Pan American champion. Apparently he made the. I recall that he made the other Brazilian kid cry, and the kid just didn't want to continue anymore. So he just won by default, right?
Uh,
And I think as far as like adults, one other honorable mention that I would like to put out there is Tate Hale, right? I believe he fights at 80 kg. He's Coach Albert Treto's kid.
oh yeah, I saw
Yeah.
him. Yeah,
From Kaniwa Dojo KD Fitness, right? That kid, I first saw him in I want to say at in March back in Phoenix Sanda Nationals 2024 this year, right? And he has hands, man. Like the bombs that he throws, dude, I would not want to fight that guy. I would not want to fight him, And I think that someone that brings the heat like that, especially at his weight class, that
it's
that's
80 kilo.
I think he did register at 80 kilo, at least in Phoenix. We'll find out. We'll find out, right?
Is this nationals or?
This nationals, right?
Yeah,
He had a fight with Jared Whitler, and it went 3 rounds, right? It was 1-1, and then in the third round, he pushed Jared Whitler out off the lei tai twice, right? Once on the other side, and then he got. What's really funny is the second time he got like an underhook. He got an underhook, and then he literally ran and he posted on the lei tai, but he still got him off. Now let's keep in mind that anytime you do a sacrifice throw
yeah,
in Sanda, in any other situation, it doesn't count unless you do it off the lei tai. Then it scores in your
yeah,
favor,
of course.
and
Yes.
you being down doesn't count, right? I remember at Worlds, Coach Corey Johnson was the national coach of the U.S. Wushu Sanda team. He was literally showing on the warm-up mats before they would train on the lei tai for their second half of their national team training session. He was showing the national team, hey, look, if you get them off on the edge of the yellow, that's why you have the yellow
Mhm.
inner square on the lei tai. It shows you how far you are
The
from the
warning.
outer edge of the lei tai, so you can do push-outs, right? You literally can do like straight up freestyle wrestling style, like shot. You literally can shoot down to your knee and just push the guy, right? And like that's gonna count. If the guy's off and there's clear separation off the push out, that counts, right? In Tate's case, right? He posted, right? And he just punched up on that underhook, right? And just strong arm this his opponent off the lei tai, right? And I remember my Sanda coach, Lao Mark Lorenzo, was reffing that fight. He was the platform judge for that match, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you can see Tate look at him and be like, that counts as out, right? That counts as out, right? And you can see Lao Mark go. And then as soon as he sees Lao Mark do this, right? Didn't even finish it. Tate goes like this, let's go, right. So, you can tell that this guy, he's really about it, and he wants to fight. I am so excited to see him fight. I honestly think he can give a lot of the people in his weight class a run for
Yeah.
his money. So,
Yeah.
that, yeah.
So in the adults, it's Vincent. I
Mhm.
think
Because
Mackenzie.
he's already guaranteed a spot because he won
Yeah. Yeah.
the 65
The
kg
world.
spot from Worlds, and if you choose to fight at Pan Am's, you're already guaranteed that spot.
Yeah. Actually, is the way. But yeah, man. I think there's new. They're gonna be a good generation. There's a
It's,
new
it's almost
kids.
with the new generation this year. So I'm
Like
honestly forward to
also
the future.
girls. Also girls. I think we're gonna have a good team with
Oh,
girls.
David Lopez's sister,
Mister,
Yaretsi.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Yes, really good with her hands. She was in the Mexico team in kickboxing
Right.
and
That their family has fought Muay Thai. They fought under WACO,
yeah,
the
in the
World
Waco,
Association of Kickboxing Organization.
yeah, yeah, and that's cool because that's what I'm talking about. Like they have different skills, they have different techniques, and that's good for us because uh we need those kind of fights and we need those kind of fighters, so we can pressure our fighters to be more aggressive, to be faster, to do this, to do that. But at the end, I'm waiting, man. I'm just waiting to for Pan Am's, and I can't wait to see my like. I'm gonna talk to my student right now. I can't wait to see my students doing their job, and or winning or lose, they are man. They're doing great because at the end, like we are doing everything, man, to get money to buy the tickets and everything, because as you said, it's not free. It's not for free. And we need to work, like we need to practice training. They going back to school next Monday. There's many things happening right now in their lives. And they also like, okay, I'm going back to school, but I need to compete. It's a different reality.
Yeah.
It's a different reality. And then I wish the best to the junior team, for Worlds. I also wish them the best. I know they're gonna do well. And whatever happens, man, whatever happens is really good when you go to international fights and in competition and you learn about like okay, I need to train more Sanda. And yeah, man, I think US has been doing good. I hope we can talk about the worlds with Mark Lorenzo also,
And Max Chen.
and Max, and of course, like we can talk more about like they were, talking, about the fights, and they were,
They were
in every
commentators.
commentators, and of course they have a different view than us. And I was in the back running everything about the competitors and this and that, so I wasn't be able to watch the fights. But but I know when we talk about the worlds, it's going to be good because we can do a continuation for the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be awesome too because we're gonna have Mackenzie, we're gonna have Bruce, and
Bruce has come from to fight.
yeah, I think yeah because he got medal.
Yeah, but
Also,
he's gonna
Audrey.
go. He's gonna go to Australia for sure for Sanda World Cup. Is that
I
correct?
think so. I think so. But it's supposed to go.
I wanna see that rematch with Australia. I
Uh,
want to see them run it back
yeah, of course. Also, I don't know. I don't know, but well, it's supposed like Mackenzie, Audrey, and Bruce because they got medals.
because they medaled. Yeah, they were the top
Yeah, they
three.
made medals. So well, technically, they 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 go.
They're
But
qualified. Yeah,
man, this year is gonna be awesome for US. I think in my perspective, everyone
yeah.
is doing
Big
great.
year, big year for Sanda.
Big year, yeah, big year for Sanda. Big year for
I
Sanda.
don't I don't think it's a coincidence. And go back to your point on the development of Sanda. I don't think it's a coincidence that after Worlds came to the U.S. and the IWF, the International Wushu Federation, gifted the USWKF, the United States of America Wushu Kung Fu Federation, the hosting organization for last year's Worlds, with a lei tai to host the competition.
Yeah.
that after that happened, all of a sudden, especially with Sensei Seth coming and covering the Sanda competition at Worlds, suddenly the so many opportunities opened up with people actually seeing and watching our sport. That was a big deal. So all those little pieces coming together finally, I think, opens up new doors, new opportunities.
Yeah.
With the new Lei Tai, I remember I was helping to set it up at Worlds, right? And you were there too, right? We were there with Mr. Fu, right? Again, we got stories, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that when we were putting the scaffolding and the wooden decks together, where the foam mats and the canvas of the official IWF design goes on top, right? I remember I was talking with Audrey's parents, right? Mr. Meeks and Mrs. Meeks.
Uh-huh.
Uh, when we were putting the Lei Tai together, I was like, so I hear that, um, we're gonna try to get this Lei Tai out to the East Coast because just like I said with my last podcast with you, I was committed to getting a Lei Tai over to the East Coast to host local Sanda competitions where I'm at, right?
Yeah.
Now that did happen, but it wasn't that Lei Tai. But at the time, I didn't know that. I was like, oh, I hear this Lei Tai is going to come to Maryland, and then Audrey's dad, Mr. Meeks, is like, actually, I heard this is going to come to Lubbock, and I'm just like, why would you need two Lei Tais in Lubbock? You already have one for nationals, right? Well, turns out, Coach Lee sent us the one that we used in nationals, which is where I fought
Uh-huh.
my first and last time, right? 2022 nationals and then 2023 nationals, right? He sent us that one, right? He sent that one to Mark, and he kept the new one. So I just think it's kind of funny that he keeps the new toy and he gives us his hand-me-downs.
But it's a
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
yeah.
But
Nah,
but
but at the end,
not that they
at
had
the
them.
end,
Yeah.
yeah, at the end we have more late ties, and that's something good for us because actually one of the things that I was talking a year ago with Coach Lee, and I remember who was there, but it was like, what about if we divide like regions, like north, east, north, south, east, west. There's one late tie, one late tie, one late tie, one late tie,
Which we
and
have now. Which now we have. We have one
yes,
in Phoenix. We have one
exactly.
in Texas, and then now we have one in Maryland.
Exactly. So that's the thing. Like right now we have more competitions. Right now we have, like I see, last week the competition in Maryland, right?
Oh yeah, last weekend it was part of the U.S. Capital Classics, which is a NASCA tournament. It's a karate, a sport karate circuit, and it was part of what's called the China Open under Grandmaster Dennis Brown, under Tian Shan Pai Grandmaster Dennis Brown, who has been involved in promoting Chinese martial arts and wushu for a very very long time, like since like at least like maybe the 80s or the 90s at least, right? And you know, full credit to him. He's one of the ones that actually he's one of the ones that taught my MMA coach, Coach Joshua Peters of Combat Principles MMA, formerly College Park Mixed Martial Arts. Shout out to CPMMA, because he was actually his first kung fu teacher, like his first martial arts teacher, right? And although Coach Joshua Peters has moved on to other martial arts like Taekwondo, Muay Thai, he's a BJJ black belt. I think, excuse me.
Bless you, bless you.
Yeah, thank you. I think he is the lightest BJJ black belt in the US. He's like the smallest one, right? But he's moved on to MMA, but he is so committed to promoting Sanda in the US, like locally, and for anyone that wants to hear about that story, we talked about it in my last podcast with you. I won't go into it here, but long story short, last time I did say that we were committed to getting a Lei Tai over to the East Coast in the US, and we finally made it happen, right? We used that for the US Capital Classics China Open Sanda kickboxing competition, right? The official name of it on the poster is US Capital Classics presents DC Classic Sanda kickboxing, right?
Awesome.
Last year it was spelled with a K. The classic was spelled with a K. This year it's spelled with a C because it's not the 90s anymore, right?
Yes. It's not Cobra Kai.
Yeah, whatever, dude. And the And so for me, that's a big deal to have more than just two competitions, right? Because the thing is that if you really want this sport to grow, you can't just be like, here's a national level sport. Oh, really? How many competitions do you have?
Yeah.
Two, right? Nationals, which is like you have to have that. So of course you're gonna have that. And then Phoenix Sanda Nationals. So only two, right? I remember Corey in your podcast with him talked about having at least three. Okay.
Yeah.
We're excuse me, we're
Bless you.
still trying to work towards that, right? So for one, I'm glad that we have a lay tie. For us, getting a lay tie is a big win, right?
Yeah.
Um, and the competition was legit. We had a lot of great MMA fighters from Kaizen MMA. They brought a lot of great fighters last time. They brought great fighters this year. Um, Another standout that I'd like to mention is Pasha Lugansky. He's a Russian, um, uh, immigrated over to the U.S. And he has pretty much stopped doing weight cuts. He was all about combat sports. Now he just signs up to fight, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's all about it. He boxed in the boxing competition the night before on Friday, and then he didn't even weigh in. He oh, sorry, excuse me. He didn't cut weight. He may, I'm sure he weighed in, right? All the athletes have to weigh in when they sign up, right? And then he just fought on Saturday. And he boxed on Friday, and then he did Sanda on Saturday, and he won his weight division.
Wow.
Like just fought through his bracket like nothing, right? And he has hands, as a
Which
Russian.
division?
Um, so I have it on my YouTube channel. I think I don't know why I'm saying I think. But if you look up on my YouTube channel, it's one of the fights. It should be 75 kg.
Ah, okay,
Right?
okay, okay.
He doesn't even cut anymore, so he has to walk around at that weight, right?
Wow.
But yeah, no. I also like to give a shout out to my
But
teammate Dallas
but man,
Anderson. Yeah, go
but
ahead.
that's development because like right now having like 1 week apart from nationals and then from the classic, in Maryland, that's a good step because right now, like if you see, yeah, we have three competitions. We have the national. We have Phoenix, with what's the name of this lady and their parents. I'm sorry.
Jane Ho, and I think
Yes, yes,
her
yes.
her her father is Master Andrew Ho,
Yeah,
and
yeah. So
his
we have
his
that
father is
national,
Mathew.
which is Taolu and Sanda, and then we have the national, the official national, which is supposed to be in California, but we move it to Phoenix. And then we have your competition, in Maryland, and of course we need another one, maybe November and something like that. But I think we're doing good. That's why I want to like to talk about this in this podcast because the development is like we've been doing good. Like we're working hard, as organization and athletes and coaches. And of course, I really would like to make one here in San Antonio, Texas. We've been talking about that. I've been working on that too. I would like to bring one to San Antonio, Texas, because it's going to be a bomb. There's a lot of opportunities here in San Antonio, and I think that's another region, the South, because there's a lot of cultural fighters, combat sport culture here in San Antonio, and I think if we can do that, like those four competitions a year, it's gonna be great, man. It's like what Brazilians. Well, Brazilians, they have, I don't know, like more than 10 competitions a year, and then they
I said this in the last podcast, but Brazil is way ahead of us. We got to catch up.
of course, and like they have MMA fights, boxing fights, kickboxing, Sanda. They have also the professional Sanda. They have like the king of Brazilian Sanda. Man, they are doing well, but again, maybe in their country the law is, of course, is different here in US depending on the state regulations, this and that. uh that sometimes it's hard, it's hard to for us, for any combat sports, because the regulations, because the state laws, because that you need to respect that. We can tell about California, and happens, bro,
So,
happens.
so yeah, so by contrast, it was really funny. The catalyst for getting this competition, USWKF sanction, which we were able to do this year, was actually last year when we finally got Coach Lee to host a Sansho or Sanda seminar
Yeah,
series at CPMMA, right? And he was sitting there with it was Coach Joshua Peters, Lauscher Mark Lorenzo, um, and Master David Voorhees, who is a Tian Shan Pai master under Grandmaster Dennis Brown, and actually he's responsible for directly organizing the Sanda competition under the U.S. Capital Classics China Open. And they were all talking, and one of the topics that came up was sanctioning, right?
yeah.
And I'm not sure who it was, but they were basically bringing up a name where this guy was under the management of combat sports sanctioning, and apparently he didn't like uh sport martial arts, right? So anything outside of boxing,
The
I know
boxing.
anything
Yeah, yeah,
outside
yeah,
of
yeah. It's more
boxing
political. Yes.
is really really weird, and it was like and the funny thing is that another person walked in. It was Coach Tony of TAC Boxing. He's an affiliate of CPMMA. He runs his own boxing classes at CPMMA. Um, you know, creates monsters in both amateur and pro boxing under CPMMA. And he walks in, and when they were talking about this one guy that they were bringing up, he was like, I don't remember what he said, but it was either, oh, well, that guy either died or retired, right? And then Coach Josh is like, are you serious? You have no idea how happy you just made me.
And
So anyways, the good news is that we were able to get sanctioning in Maryland. There's no issues with us here, by contrast. So there's some good news. So we were able to get a Sanda competition here with no legal problems at all.
awesome,
And
awesome.
so here's the thing, right? Getting a lay tie, getting the sanctioning, those are big wins. By the way, before I forget, I want to give a huge shout out to my teammate Dallas Anders, who fought at nationals last year. It was his first fight. He sacrificed his time with his son. His son's birthday was on Memorial Day, and the two previous nationals in 2022 and
Oh, I
2023
know you. I
were,
know who you're
were,
talking about.
were on Memorial Day. He had a very, very competitive fight with Tyler Wade after I fought Damian Sanchez. Actually, if I recall correctly, you were actually reffing that fight. You were the platform judge, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. It's just really funny how tight and how small the Sanda world is, But anyways, he wanted to fight again, made a huge comeback here, and I had the privilege to corner him in his fights. Which so the funny thing is he broke two curses, right? The first one is he wore my blue Sanda uniform, and
Awesome.
everyone that's worn the blue Sanda uniform, my blue Sanda uniform, has lost. I lost when I was wearing it, and I lost against Kevin Felicion at Pan Am's, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah, and
You
and
can lose those, man.
yeah, but he broke that curse. He won. That's one curse that he broke. The second curse, every fighter that I cornered previously has lost. Like, and I'm just like, man, I don't know if you want me to be in your corner, dude. And he's like, hey, man, like, I feel like no one knows my movement more than you. And I'm just like, shit, all right, I can't let my friend down, right? So, full credit to him, made a huge comeback, right? Came back with a medal. You could tell he's so happy. And I found out when he posted on Facebook and Instagram, it was actually the 10th anniversary of his brother's passing.
His brother, yes,
You
I
know?
saw it.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
I had
Respect
no
to
idea.
Dallas.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, respect.
People
Yeah.
like that, seriously, respect. People like that deserve success. They work way harder than me, and I've had the opportunity to experience some semblance of success in Sanda, even though I'm not that great at it. And if anyone wants to experience that success with us, we should bring them with us.
Yeah.
And also I also want to give a huge shout out to Pan Yang Da Ge. Xi Shining, I think is her name. People call her name Shining. She was one of the Sanda judges in Arizona.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I'm like there, but she's Chinese. She's very obviously Chinese. There's no way a Chinese person's name is Shining unless you read Pinyin and it's like
Yeah,
Shining,
she's
right?
younger, right? She's
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes,
she's yeah, her mom. Yeah, man.
yeah,
They're very
and
humble. I love them.
yeah,
Yes.
and her as well as my teammate from Goes Kung Fu, another student under Lao Shi Mark Lorenzo, coach or sorry, Lao Shi Chiquetta Hodges, right? I believe she's the first black women's judge in US Sanda. You know,
Wow.
those three were responsible for judging the competition, right? When
Wow.
Mark asked Pan Yang Dage to come over and to fly out and judge, he said yes with no hesitation. He just said yes, right? You know, he didn't have to do that at all, but he did just for the sake of promoting this sport. You know, to me, getting the lei tai, the state sanctioning for combat sports, getting actual certified judges to judge a USAWKF sanctioned competition. Those are big wins. You know, those are I want to start with the positives there. Those are big wins, right? But I also want to be very, very fair and objective, right? Those were only three judges. It
Wow.
was not the regulation five.
And and
So
and I'm sorry, man. And yes, that's part of the developing because imagine you run a Sanda competition with just three judges.
a fighter can get screwed over
Yeah,
by missing one of the corner
yeah,
judges.
exactly. And that's something that one of the things is now like people in Maryland now they know more about this sport. Maybe the the people from like doing karate and they're like wow, a platform because
Yeah, that happened last year.
you like you set up a late tie on the karate competition. Of course,
Yeah,
gonna be like what the
so the funny thing is that last year wasn't even a real late tie, you know? Like it was just it was like this ghetto scaffolding with puzzle mats on it,
uh-huh.
you know? Nothing compared to our official, regulation late high, right? And when we brought that over this year, everyone was like, whoa, like this is legit, right? But last year we didn't have a real late high. People still came over to watch, right? There weren't enough seats to show the people that are and you can watch the videos back. Like there were a bunch of people gathering along the sides of the field of play to watch the Sanda competition, right? And it's a karate competition, right? So you can imagine like and also China Open has Chinese stylists too, right? So you can imagine people from Tianshanpai, Jiaoga were watching the competition from the side, and the story that I always like to retell is that all these karate people were coming and watching. Oh, what's Sanda, right? What's
Yeah.
really funny is one of my teammates that competed that year in 2023, Barry Barrientos, right? He retells the story as like, oh, it's all these wushu folks coming in, like, what is Sanda? I'm like, hey, come on now. You don't gotta put us on blast, okay? We know what Sanda is. Sanda's under our federation, But hey, it's just people like to
But
recall
that's
things.
yeah, that's the thing, man. Now people knows more about when every time they see a platform, it's like Sanda, and
Mhm.
because it and that's the thing, So I think we're doing good. I think next year is going to be better. I think
No, yeah, 100%. So
yeah, it's
here's the
going to
thing,
be
right?
better. Yeah, it's going
A
to be.
couple points of improvement that I just wanna put out there to be completely fair is that only three judges, not five, is pure
Yeah,
actual regulations, right?
yeah,
You need five, right? So the lei tai is if you have the lei tai here, right? Head judges here, you have five sideline judges, four corner and one on the opposite side of the head judges table, right? So you go from the head judges table, it goes I think it goes counterclockwise. So if it's facing the camera, I hope I'm doing this right.
yeah,
It
yeah,
goes
yeah, yeah,
one, two, three, 4, and 5. So the four corners, and then the one side opposite of the head judge in between is judge number 3, right? You need all those vantage points to
Yeah.
see something, because if someone, though the sideline judges are the ones that score the striking, and we got to be really honest, striking is one of the most subjective aspects of the sport that's scored, right? So how do you counter that, right? How do you mitigate that risk? Is if one judge doesn't see a kick being landed on the chest protector,
No
maybe they don't
points.
make a sound.
Yeah.
But that guy over there is also professional. That guy should be able to see it as well, right?
Yeah.
So the 5 judges do matter. That's the first point. Okay. The second point is the equipment. Okay. When they decided to follow the IWF rules, they just decided, okay, we're gonna just use title boxing brand headgear and gloves, right? Velcro gloves, not even lace up, right? And they used an RDX
Yeah.
karate
Yeah.
chest guard, you know. And I didn't say anything because it's like, it's not my competition. I'm just happy that they see the potential of Sanda as a combat sport,
Yeah,
right?
but you start for something,
No,
that's
no,
the good thing.
100%. So here's the thing: Coach Lee gave really great feedback. When he also flew over too, by the way, and he didn't even judge; he just helped corner. You know, he spent his time sitting next to me cornering Dallas, you know, and my other teammates, Chase Dews and Tyler Bristow. He didn't have to do that, but he did, you know. So I'm super grateful to him for that. He also gave us some feedback and his expertise and his experience on how to make the Sanda competition better, right? Number one was the equipment, right? Because the chest protector from that's approved by IWF is different from all the other ones. They're not meant to protect you. It's like old school taekwondo. It's meant to have a very specific
The
sound.
sound, yes.
Yeah, that clap is on the headgear, on the chest protector, is different, right? Versus if you use just any old, cheap gear, it's not going to be the same, right? The competition approved equipment is there for a reason. It's used specifically for judging and scoring, So, the thing is, him saying that to me mattered, right? Well, I remember trying to encourage that this year, and the thing about that is, one of the stakeholders called me on the phone, one of the investors, and he was like, uh, they just didn't really see a point in spending all that money without justifying the return on investment, right? So they wanted to see if there was enough participation to justify that, right? And I
Awesome.
completely understand that. But to be clear, they had the money. They could spend that money.
Yeah.
They just wanted to see a return on investment. Completely understand, And full credit to Coach Lee. He gave me some words of wisdom where it's like, he was like, Mathew, right? Remember, Chinese people can't say my name properly. They say with an F, not a TH sound, right? He said, 没问题, right? As a no problem. What he basically said was like, the choice is very obvious, right? If you're an investor and you're spending your money, you're sponsoring an event, you have a choice. You can either see it in the long term and spend your money and invest in it incrementally, or you drop all this money at one time,
Yeah.
and then you don't see your return on
And your
investment.
return of investment. Yes.
Yeah, and so he was basically like, look,
For a good
let's be
faith.
real. Getting the lei tai here. First of all, the U.S. Capitol Classics paid
Logistic.
for most everything, right? They paid for the judges' hotel. They gave they waived the spectator fees for anyone that would volunteer. They rented out the Gaylord National resort at National Harbor, Maryland. So you don't have so we don't have to worry about trying to rent out space for a competition venue. They took care of that, right? And Grandmaster Dennis Brown paid for the lei tai to be transported over here, right?
Yeah.
And just the extra cost of the equipment was like, even with a quote from Coach Lee with his contacts in Wei Sing, was like 6,000, and he even said, don't even think about Wei Sing, to be honest with you. Like, maybe use Taishan. Taishan is another brand that's also
Yes.
IWF approved and also is probably cheaper, right? So there are options there. But he was basically like, the budget was already really tight. So it's like he was like, he was confident that if you know year after year you see the competition grow, that he was confident that the investors would be willing to spend that money eventually, right? So he gave me some words of wisdom to think more in the long term and big picture. And I remember you giving me some advice of like, hey man, like calm down, pick your battles, right? So yeah, like I understand that this is a very incremental thing, but as far as like Wushu Sanda, I see where we're at in the
Yeah.
DMV and the East Coast and where we want to be, and we're just not there yet.
Yeah, and actually, thank you, for what you're doing right now for this sport, because that's why this topic is development, and you are one of those developers. And it's awesome when you talk about that there was investors, and this is the way it is, man. Like, actually, one of the things that I still working on the budget for San Antonio is for the same thing, because yeah, I'm gonna start with something small. I'm gonna invite people from Mexico, people from here, blah blah blah. At the end, what I'm trying to do is to bring uh, a good combat sport, to bring that this for spectators, for people who really want to know more about the sport, or someone like who's what Sanda. And I really want to do it because I love this sport. And I hope next year we can have something here in San Antonio. But brother, what you're doing right now, it's awesome. Mark, everyone, man.
No disrespect to karate. I know you said in our last podcast that this podcast is not to talk shit about other martial arts.
That's
Okay.
fine. It's fine.
No disrespect, but Master David Voorhees has mentioned multiple times that there were Chinese investors, there were Chinese sponsors that came to watch the Capital Classics, and the organizers, who are mainly karate people, right, were like, oh, check this out, we have all this, and apparently they just ignored all that, and they looked at the Lei Tai, and they were like, what is that,
Of
right?
course, of
Yes,
course.
I mean it's their sport. Of course they're gonna be invested in that, right? Sanda is
Yeah.
their national combat sport.
Yeah, but of course, man. Like you see a late time, like what the hell is this? It's like if you go to a
Also, the Lei Tai is a cultural thing. The Chinese used that in the old
exactly,
days to
and then
fight.
it's like if you go a dealership and there are Chevys, there are Fords, and there's a Ferrari.
It's branding, it's packaging. That's why getting the Lei Tai mattered. It's a huge step forward in recognizing how distinctive a combat sport is. As such a combat sport as Sanda.
Yeah, man. But again, this episode, I really like this episode because we focus in a different topic than a life, a story. It's like we're really uh we're talking about like that we are really doing well, like we have a lot of new kids, we have a new generation, we have a new team, we have new members, now we have new people with you in Maryland, like more people knowing about this. I can't wait, like I don't know, from now in the to 2 3 years, I know for sure that we're gonna have more people involved. I know for sure, though. We're gonna have more competition. We're gonna have more kiddos. We got new generations, and I'm sorry, and the kids from now, from today, like Mason, Leo, and many others, what they're like doing right now, and if we retain those kids for the next 5 years, man, they're gonna do
Future
really
Sanda stars. They're gonna be future Wushu Sanda stars.
exactly, man. Exactly. And man, we're looking the Olympics, man. Like you can see Olympics. There's a lot like China, man. 15-year-old winning goals in the, in the,
By
in
the way, you know what's really, really funny? When Maryland started finally opening up their sanctioning for combat sports, I noticed that there were posters for a Muay Thai event, and they were wearing headgear and chest protector.
yeah.
Muay Thai traditionally does not do that, right?
Actually, yeah, they do the amateur.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
ironically, when you do that, now it looks more like Sanda, right?
yeah,
Which true Sanda is also it generally is under amateur.
but if you look to the multi the chest gear and everything is thicker,
Mm,
very thick, different to us. But of course, because they
ironic
use,
is that because Muay Thai is seen
yeah,
as a combat sport that's the most pound for pound damage. You know,
exactly.
it
So
damages
so
most.
if you see the amateur multi fights, yeah, they have everything. They have the headgear, they have gloves, they have I think the chin guards and the thicker chest guard, and I think the oh yeah, the elbows too.
Mm.
So yeah, man. But in Sanda, we just do the headgear, the chest, which is like an onion skin, and yeah, and I always said, man, I prefer to practice or to spar without that because at the end it's the same
Yeah,
thing.
my wushu senior Jason Liu, and Lao
Uh-huh.
Mark, they made us spar without it.
Yeah, because it's at the end, like if you're a fighter, uh, I don't know how to mention, but it helps you to be more careful. That creates more like action reaction, and because of course you don't want to
Less
get hit.
protection means more risk. It means
Yeah,
you're
you
be
don't want
more
to get hit. Exactly.
again. If you're smart, you're going to be more disciplined and more reserved about your protection. And you're
Exactly. So me, like last year in the Sanda camp, we've been there together, and I got the accident with in my ribs, and I still train for the whole week with the chest gear, and but I know, man, every time they kick me or punch me, I felt it because it's nothing. But at the end, uh, I just don't want to give up. That. So I think in my case, I think that week it was a hell week for me, but because of the pain, and I enjoy it a lot. I enjoy to spar with you. I enjoy to spar with Bruce. I enjoy to spar with Damien and many other guys from Lubbock. I really love it. And unfortunately, with Tate from Vincent.
Oh,
um
Andrew Tate,
yeah, Andrew Tate.
not red pill Andrew Tate. Okay,
No, Andrew Tate. Yeah,
yeah,
I,
this
I
Andrew
love
Tate
Andrew. I
is
love
the
Andrew.
sweetest. He's the sweetest, most hardworking guy.
Yeah, man,
No
but he's
red pill
a lion
bullshit.
heart, bro.
Not that Andrew Tate.
He's a lion heart. I love that guy. Honestly, I always say like, hey Andrew, you are my hero, man. I love that guy. Really, he have a lion heart, man. There's no other
You
thing
know,
how to.
what's really funny is that I saw him compete alongside Vincent in the U.S. International Wushu Championship tournament in Lei Thai fighting. Right?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's a Taiwanese version
yeah,
of
yeah. I
Sanda,
know. Uh-huh.
which is really funny because when Sensei Set's videos about Sanda started coming out, people were talking about Wushu Lei Thai, and they were like, "Oh, it's a Taiwanese version of Sanda," even though ironically, uh, Guoshu Leitai is the cultural progenitor of
Yes,
Wushu Sanda. And I just
yes,
think it's kind of funny because it's just like as soon as Sanda starts getting bigger, now they're going to be like, oh, it's like Sanda, whereas before it's like, oh no, it's different, right? And some of the differences are, and I forgot to mention this, they have open fingered gloves, so
yeah,
you allow open handed palm strikes. I forgot to mention this in our
yeah.
last
Like
podcast.
the MMA, like the MMA
Yes,
gloves.
you wear a face cage. You can do elbows and knees, and you have a 5 second time limit for the clinch, right? Um, and Vincent and his team, his younger brother Spencer Mung actually won his weight division just this past year in July, and that's just a testament to how well developed Wushu Sanda fighters can
Yeah,
do in Guoshu
yeah,
Lake, you know.
yeah.
And Andrew Tate is one of those guys, And the funny thing is the reason why I was saying that is because when I saw him fight, I was like, okay, I recognize that name. And I tried to look up his fights on YouTube, and at the same time, this is the same time that Red Pill Andrew Tate started getting really big, and then I'm just like, okay, this isn't the guy I'm looking for. Like, he did do kickboxing, but it's like this isn't the guy I'm looking for. Turns out I'm the only one that has Andrew Tate's Sanda Andrew Tate's fight videos. So it's just I just think it's kind of funny.
Nah, man, but I think everyone is doing great. I would like to be in the Sanda camp right now, but so I have my personal things. But I know in the future we're gonna be there. And man, thank you again, man. I think this podcast gonna help a lot of people to understand that we are doing great. Like we are in that development. Like we having more and more people coming to our sport. Now we have in Maryland in East Coast, we have the new Lake Tie, more competition next year. So I
Mhm.
think we're doing great. If we have 4 competitions per year, because between we have the internationals, and I think it's going to be great because
Um,
that is more retention.
Before I forget,
Yeah.
Coach Joshua Peters talked about wanting to have another Sanda event in a couple months.
Awesome.
In He wanted December and or January, but Master David Voorhees was like, December is like the holidays. It's
And
like
not even January.
Christmas,
Yeah.
Hanukkah. No one's gonna be here at that time, right?
Yeah.
So they're looking at. So see, he actually suggested January. I think January is more of a fair timeline. After New Year's and all the holidays are done. Um, but yeah, I wish I could say more. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
things
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Of
can really
course.
say, but hopefully, all things going well, we can have another Sanda event within a couple months.
Man,
So please, please, if you're interested in fighting in the DMV area, the DC, Maryland, and Virginia area, please stay tuned.
yeah.
If you're fighting locally, you want to come out, um, please stay tuned. We're really looking forward to matchmaking.
Where can we contact you in Maryland so they can call you and ask for more information?
So number one is I would actually recommend emailing Master David Voorhees. That is DC Voorhees, same Voorhees as Jason Voorhees.
Right.
Like
You'll give me the email and I can put in the.
absolutely. I'll give it's
I write it down.
DC.
Yes.
Yeah, DC Voorhees 23. The number 23 at gmail.com. I would also recommend that you contact Coach Joshua Peters of Combat Principles MMA. His email is jdpeters, Peters at gmail.com. But I'll send you all this information afterwards.
Yeah, yeah. Send me everything so I can write it down
100%.
in the description below. And man, again, thank you, man, because you're doing great. Now you are in that side that you are starting to develop this sport. And I hope to see you in California in 2 weeks, and
100%. 100%.
of course, and 2 3 weeks, and I know we're gonna have a good, a good experience with the team. And of course, I have my two students. They're gonna fight, and believe me, bro, I'm training with them so hard, so hard. Right now, here is like a 115, 110, 114 Fahrenheit, and they are like working as hell, man.
This
Like
is
they're
this is
doing,
literally one of the hottest summers like
yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Like I was thinking about going out to run, and I was just like, nah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, imagine these kids are training like with that weather, and believe me, man, they are it's like because they know inside, like they have a big responsibility right now competing for the country, for the USA team. And man, I'm not even asking like you need to do this. It's like they just arrive, they start you know yatwe, stretching, and then
Stretching.
and then shadow boxing, and then okay, what's next? Man, they are doing great, and I'm really trust these guys. And not because my students, is because I can see and I can feel it. You can feel it, man. With someone, it's like I
Their
want the
passion.
gold.
Passion. Yeah.
Yeah, the passion is not like what I need to do, coach. No, it's like, okay, now I'm in the USA team and I'm gonna kick my ass to be the best. I
You know,
love
what's-
that.
what's really funny is that there's always this rhetoric from older generations that young people don't want to work hard, and that's complete bullshit when it comes to combat sports. People that are going to want to work hard, they're going to want to work hard. People that are going to want to compete and do well, they're going to want to put in the time to compete.
Yeah.
I think it's just a difference in cultural attitudes and values, and I feel like if teachers can adjust to that, then it's not going to be that much of a problem if you're smart.
Yeah, but Matthew, like in my opinion, maybe if you have 10 students, maybe one going to compete, unfortunately.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
and because there's many, actually it's something that I talked to with Corey in the podcast, and it was like not many people want it because in US they have more opportunity like basketball, football,
This
running
was
and
this was this
swimming.
was in, this was in your last podcast with Corey, right?
Yeah, and we talk
Yeah.
about like people don't like, man, if you're competing in Sanda, it's like because but many people is like Sanda is very hard and I have these opportunities. So I go for the easy route.
Right, right. And here's the thing. Here's the thing, right? When it comes to developing Sanda and making it more accessible, I think that we have to be very accepting of that, right? Just like with Taolu, right? When we think about the development of wushu and making it more accessible,
Yes.
I remember
Yes.
Corey said something that's was very, very genius. It stuck with me when I heard him say it on your podcast. Was, many people are going to have so many excuses as to why they don't compete, right? They want to be regular people. They want to have a
Yeah.
relationship. They want to have a family. They want to have kids. They want to settle down and have a house and a car. Those are all perfectly good reasons, right? But if you do those things, on the flip side, you're never going to get to do anything special in your life, and you're never going to amount to anything special, and that's fine. Okay, but the two kinds of people of being a regular person and a competitor are
Yeah.
not equivalent. They're just not. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying that they're different, and you as an instructor would understand that better than anybody else, because when you run a business or you run a martial arts class, right, you understand that people that sign up probably either want to learn a martial art,
Yeah.
for self
Just for,
defense, for fitness, for a good workout, or you just want to have fun. When I do wushu, I don't do it because I want to compete anymore. I do it because it's fun. It's
yeah.
fun to do taolu. It's fun to do sanda. I train because I like doing it now. I don't do it because I want to be a competitor. But if I was going to be a competitor, oh, now it's a different conversation, right? If your student comes up to you and says, "I want to fight," oh, well, that's a different conversation. Now you got to get serious. Now you got to be willing to put in the time, right? You got to be willing to come in, almost every day. You got to be willing to train as much as you can, right? And you got to be very, very sport specific and goal oriented about the skills that you're trying to train, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Exactly.
again, I feel like if you're honest and transparent about that, that's not a problem, right? And
Yeah.
if I could circle back to the future development of Sanda in the US, right? In the last podcast, I talked about Sensei Seth and how successful his covering of worlds was, right? The reason why I feel it was so successful is because he has a big following and an audience, and the reason why he developed that
Yeah.
big following and audience is because he's honest. He's honest about the modalities of martial arts and what those specific modalities can offer. Right. In the case of Sanda, I don't believe that Sanda is necessarily better or worse than other combat sports modalities, but I think that Sanda does offer something unique in terms of bridging the gap between striking and wrestling, right?
Yes.
That's a very unique thing. It's not the only hybrid combat sport that does that, but it's certainly one of the biggest ones, right? If anyone that does their research, they'll look up two martial arts that are hybrid combat sports: sambo and sanda, right?
Hmm.
So to me, I think when it comes to uh, being honest about Sanda. The national training camp in Lubbock. I believe part of their agenda had uh, they had like some sort of a workshop for marketing, right? And uh, to me, I think the marketing attitude that we have to adopt, again, to circle back, is honesty and a little bit of humility, right?
Of
Because
course.
because being honest about what Sanda has to offer, number one, it's gonna bring in the people that you want, you know, and it's gonna be very, very clear about what you're doing, right? Sanda is an open combat sport. It is not a Chinese tradition that is thousands of years old. It is not some sort of special,
But
cutting edge self-defense
yes,
martial
but
art. It's a combat sport.
you know why? Because like if like when people comes, with me, and they say like, "Hey, what is Sanda? What it's a kung fu?" Yeah, yeah, And so that marketing we have is that traditional kung fu movies. Oh, you fly, you do this, you no, man. I remember one guy came to my school years ago, a multi guy, and he really wanted to fight me, right? And we had a good fight, multi and Sanda. And he was pissed off because like, why you how you can catch my kicks? Why you taking me down? How's that, man? Like, bro, this is Sanda. And he's like, hey man, can I train with you? He was training for 1 month to 1 2 months, and he told me at the end, it's like, hey, I respect, I was wrong. uh I'm so sorry, man. Maybe I disrespect, but I want to try it, and I want to try with you because you're the coach. Like, fine, man. We had a few sparring sessions, really good, and it's not about who win, who lose. It's just about like we share the late tie, and he was so pissed off because like, why in Muay Thai we don't have that, man? But at the end, it's like the bad marketing that Sanda or Wushu have, because of that kind of things. And you just mentioned it's not about a traditional kung fu thing for a thousand year ago, 2,000 year ago, 200, whatever. It's something new. It's something really skill. Like you need a lot of skillful. You need to be. I'm sorry. You need to have a lot of skills. You need to have a lot of commitment, and you need to have a good coach, and you need to learn more about the rules. It's not about like go and fight. And yeah, man. Like we are changing that vision for other people.
This is where I feel that the values of honesty and humility help out a lot, because number one, we don't need to pretend that we're better than any other
Excellent.
martial arts style, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But we can be honest about the skill sets that we have to offer, right? The one thing I think that fighters have more than any other type of martial artist is that it is very much based on honesty. It is results based, right? It's not based on faith. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more about like, oh, okay, what was that technique? Because it worked, right? How do you do
Yeah.
that? Okay, got it, right? I remember being in the striking class for CPMMA, and I was doing 旋压摔, right? In Chinese, they call it the whirling pressing takedown, right? Actually, I'm pretty sure that on World close. I remember that on World Wushu Kung Fu Day, uh, Bruce released a video about this very same takedown, but he called it like a literal translation, right? It's also called 下压摔, pressing down takedown, right? And it's basically like leg pressing down, and it's like that's basically in wrestling it's called run the pipe, right? So for example, the Sanda version of it is if someone kicks to the inside of my thigh, right? That becomes my contact point, right? So I catch it, and then my trail leg or my outside leg steps towards my butt or my back. I step away from the opponent and I spiral down, right?
Yeah.
And then I basically take them down with a single leg takedown with a head on the outside,
You
right?
know, I call them the half moon takedown.
Yeah, because it's like a semicircle when it
Yeah,
spirals down, right?
that
And
is the way I call it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Barry, who I mentioned before, right? And he likes the Sanda rule set. That's why he competed in it. He's like, "Hey, yo, Matt, how did you do that?" And yeah, I just showed it to him. He's like, "All right, bet." Right? And the thing about fighters is that if they see something useful and they see the results, they're going to want to learn it. That's how respect is earned, right? We live in a results-based society. Respect is earned, not given today. Okay. So if you prove that your stuff works, there's no problem. It's no problem at all, right? So that's where I feel the values of humility and honesty can help out, right? Um, and nowhere more do we see the effectiveness of Sanda than in MMA, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Wei Lee and
Wei
many
Lee.
other
By the
fighters.
way, by
Yeah.
the way, Zhang Weili's fight with Yan Xiaonan back in April at UFC 300, that was a banger. To me, that is the biggest showcase of Sanda on a world.
Yes, man. I was like takedowns and then kick and catching takedown. Like, oh man, it does. It was a
So
real Thunder
okay,
fight.
I'm so sorry. 1 second, because I do have notes. I apologize.
No, that's fine.
When in our last podcast too, I had a very bad habit of going all over the place. So I actually do have some notes here. So first of all, I was very surprised at how tall Yan Xiaonan was. Like, here's the thing. I know Zhang Weili is short, but holy shit, man, Yan Xiaonan dwarfs her, man. And I was just like, oh man, how I didn't even think about that. How is Zhang Weili gonna touch her, right? And her Yan Xiaonan's power rocking Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili fell down multiple times. I'm not sure if she got knocked down or she just fell down. And then she stayed on the ground for 1 round, and she was doing the up kicks, the bicycle kicks, right? On the mat.
Oh yeah.
Nate Diaz did that in his second fight with Conor McGregor, right? But her punches and man, her sidekick, right? Literally her corner when she came back in between rounds was like sidekick. Use the sidekick, right? And holy shit, oh, and by the way, we got Coach Rob Sullivan, who I also train with at Baltimore BJJ. Again, apologies. The last podcast, I misspoke the name of his MMA gym, Baltimore Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He helped me out with my wrestling in private lessons. Today, he helps me out more with BJJ. But he was a professional fighter, and he fought at bantamweight, 135 pounds, right? And when he watched that, he was like, yeah, like her corner should tell her to use sidekicks because sidekicks, they worked for her. Why wouldn't you use them, right? So again, it is a testament to how combat sports athletes and fighters operate on a results-based approach, right? They have a results-based philosophy and attitude. If it works, right? There's no argument about it at all, right? If they see a move and they see that it works, they're gonna want to learn it, right? That to me was a big win, a huge step forward for Sanda this year, right? Yeah. And by the way, did you see that Zhang Weili tried the inside trip? In Chinese, it's called Dehe, right? It's I believe the full term is Dehele. It's a derivative of the original Mongolian term because it came from Mongolian wrestling, Degele, right? Oh yeah. And it's in judo, it's called I think it's called Ouchigari, right? Basically, right, where you're in between, you're sort of like in a T position with someone's two legs. You try to do an inside strip
yes
on the near leg, right? She tried that twice. It didn't work the first time, right? The second time she tried it again, and Yan Xiaonan did I think she did some sort of like a outside trip, right? Where she stepped past Zhang Weili's tripping leg and just reversed her. Right? Yeah. And I think there's a video on Jiayu Wushu, right, with 2 O's, right? It's where I used to write write-ups and editorials before the website domain expired, right? Has a very viral video on their Facebook where there's a coach showing a counter to that move, and he's basically tripping past the tripping leg to counter that move, right? And it's basically like this, right? Mason Zhong, shout out to Mason Zhong. I think he actually commented on the Facebook page of Combat Sports Academy that both Zhang Weili and Yan Xiaonan were provincial Sanda champions, right? Zhang Weili was Hebei provincial champion, and Yan Xiaonan was, I think, I want to say Liaoning provincial champion, right? But
they have a really good team in Liaoning.
Yeah,
really good.
But Yan Xiaonan was a collegiate bronze medalist, right? So what can we take away from her display? To me, it's that, Yan Xiaonan was clearly the better Sanda fighter, right? But Zhang Weili was the more well-rounded and complete MMA fighter.
Yeah,
right?
We're talking about yes.
We saw her win the fight by virtue of the superior wrestling, scrambling skills, and her grappling, right? So it just goes to show that Wushu Sanda is its own sport,
Yeah.
but it does still have great carryover into MMA, right? Which shows how useful and practical it can be, right? Now, that being said, knowing what we know now, would the result be the same if Yan Xiaonan improved on her scrambling skills from complete wrestling and the grappling of BJJ? I honestly don't know. I kind of want to see that rematch. I want to see them run that back. I think it's
They're
going to
gonna
be.
fight again.
I don't know.
It would be like if they fight again, man. That's gonna be a good fight because honestly, I as a Sanda fighter or former Sanda fighter, I enjoyed that fight. And honestly, I'm not that UFC fan, but when I see some Chinese who's gonna be fighting, it's like okay, I want to see that because again, the transition from movement to movement, you know, in Sanda and MMA, it's like, bro, we have everything, bro. Like we have every catch kicks, takedowns, and then you go down and you do your BJJ thing, right? But man, we have everything, bro. Even in the professional Sanda, we have knees, we have elbows, you have everything. The only thing is like we are more focused in the amateur Sanda than the professional Sanda, of course. But if you do the professional Sanda, I remember there was a league in China. I don't remember the name, but they allow you to go 5 seconds. Like if you go to the floor, you still can punch him or kick him or even
Really,
step on
really.
it. Yes,
I,
yes.
I saw the Russians do something like that.
No, China has it. They had it. They man, beautiful man.
China had it. China had it too.
Yeah, China had it like years ago. If I find the video, I'll send it to you. But let me tell you this. I liked it because well, at the end it was a league, and man, it was really brutal fights. It was crazy, man. Like Chinese, like 100% potential doing Sanda, and then 5 seconds in the floor, and then I think Russia copied that from China. Because then Russia came out with the ring and then like a little cage in the last rope. You remember that? Well, but China it was with a professional 8 meter by 8 meter ring, and they fought like that. It was I promise if I find you, I send it to you. But bro, thank you a lot again. It
Mm.
was man. I know we can keep talking and talking and talking, but again,
We-
this
we-
is
we-
about
just like
this is
last time,
about
we can go
development.
on and on and on.
I
Like,
know this is about development, and I hope this podcast people can enjoy it and learn more about what we're doing in US and like the development and that we have really good fighters and really good generations. And I hope these Pan Americans in California. I hope everyone like all the countries coming and I hope all the fighters can fight, and I hope at the end everyone goes with the medal or with the good friendship.
100%, 100%.
I really, man, I hope and I see you there, man. So
Yeah, I'll see you at Pan Am's, man.
yeah, man, something last words that you want to share with us.
Um, please look forward to the development of US Sanda. Please, we have big things coming. This is, me in my case, making sure that the US Capital Classics had Sanda. It is not just me. It's also credit to Coach Joshua Peters and Master David Voorhees and other people that saw the potential of Sanda as a combat sport. I certainly cannot do it alone. And I definitely didn't even do anything that important. I was just more of a facilitator. I was just like, hey, to Lao Shi Mark, can we get a lei tai over here? And because he listened to me, he
Yeah.
actually, got approval to make it happen. I don't know how he did it, but he did. And now we have that, right? And Coach Joshua Peters providing this opportunity because he loves Sanda, because he wants to promote Sanda. We need more people like him, and of course, Coach Master Dave Voorhees with his resources to make it happen. We are very, very committed to developing Sanda as a combat sport long term in the DMV, right?
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
please stay tuned. We are not done. We have
You
so
just
much.
started.
Yeah, our work is not done. Our work is never done, right? But we have so much more opportunities in store. Please stay tuned.
Thank you, guys. So again, thank you. Chayo, USA in Pan Am's, Chayo to everyone. I really, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be one of those guys who love this sport. And thank you again to everyone who's watching this or or listening on Spotify. Thank you. I know it's a 2 hour podcast, but we talk a lot of important things about Sanda in US. And again, we hope to have or to host event here in San Antonio next year. I hope so. If you are here in the area, you're more than welcome. And I promise you to do our best, to bring Sanda to San Antonio, Texas, and of course, as Matthew just mentioned, we just starting, for the new generation and the new development. Thank you, Matthew. I love you, bro.
Hey, thank you, Hermano, for having me. I love having these conversations. Okay, where else can I have these conversations? Like I
I
said in
know.
the last podcast, we can go on and on because this is my favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah, but
Hey,
we're gonna talk more in Cali.
100%, 100%, man. And hey, I'll see you in Cali. Okay,
I'll
thank you
see
so
you
much.
there. Thank you, guys. So see you for next podcast. I have maybe next I have a surprise for you next time. I've been talking with one of the best stand-up fighters, and that's a surprise. So I hope we can have it soon. If I don't, he's gonna be. He promised to be here in one episode. He's a very very busy guy. So thank you guys again. Have a good day, night, whatever. But thank you for being here and thank you for following us. So thank you, Matthew. Have a good night.
See you in Pan Am's, brother.
See you in Panams. Don't go. Let me just finish.